Welcome to the Schmitter's 100-acre woods. So this week, a little bit different video. So we're on, Schmitters are going on vacation to see some family. So take this as kind of an off week, but still wanted to post a video, just kind of going through the channel and everything. So welcome if this is your first time, otherwise welcome back. We're going on vacation to see some family, so no typical video today. At this point, I've been doing the channel for a year and about 6 months, and can kind of go back through and see some of the different things we've done. But basically started the channel, and we're doing a lot of work at the Hilltop Christian Camp, so we were doing stuff there and helping get water put in there. So some of the first videos I posted actually kind of are oriented around that. So kind of see some different equipment there. So we have a trencher out on site where we use to put that water in. We use poly pipe, so kind of fusing and how that all works, and then used a mini for a lot of that project. We have kind of that kicked off a lot of the channel, and it was just kind of stuff that we were doing at the time whenever I started it. And the real purpose of the channel is to document things that we do here at the homestead, but also at the 100 acres. I'm an electrical engineer by education, but on the weekends and after work, do a lot of what you've seen here on the channel, and are doing things to clean up the 100 acres. So it's old coal ground that was mined back in the 40s. So after that was mined, the reclamation of that time was basically just planting trees for the amount of equipment that was on the property. It's not like now where everything's flattened back off and is put in better condition than it was. So it's all the rolling hills, if you've seen the videos, that basically they just started at one end, mined down, and put all their spoils on the sides, and that's what gives it the look of the different ridges that you see kind of as I've done videos. With that, up to date, just kind of been working on getting trails established and getting things prepared over there to build within the next few years. A lot of it has been essentially entertainment at this point and kind of getting stuff prepared. Most recently, they did start, they worked on the power lines back there. If you've watched the video with all the gravel and everything, there's a now path from the entrance all the way back around to the power poles. So that's a huge step that I never thought would happen, having limestone on all that. It's one of those good bad things. I think it'll be really nice long term, just because we'll always have a path back there that you'll be able to go through no matter what condition, wet or whatever. Whereas before it was always just mud or dirt. The bad of it is, and it's not necessarily bad, just kind of one of those things we have to figure out, is we still, like for the house and the pole barn and everything we want to build, there's going to be a lot of clearing that needs to be done. And a lot of the treetops, anything that's not usable firewood or that we're going to put on the sawmill, is going to go in like a green hole like we've been doing so far. We don't want to drag all of that through the gravel, so we're going to have to come up with a new path. So that'll be something that we work on here in the not too distant future, is getting another path back around. Probably utilize some of the north path and then figure out how we can cut through to get over to an area where we think we're going to start a new green hole, so that we can get rid of the treetops and stuff that is too small for firewood. So that's at the 100 acres, kind of some of what we've been doing and kind of where it's headed. So here at the homestead, as you've seen, we have the sawmill, so we have an LX150 that we've been utilizing, and been making lots of boards and everything. So here I'm in the grill pavilion, and made this with all of the material that we have. The exception is the roof. Mixed and poured the concrete for this little pad, and then cut all the 4x4s and 2x6s and 2x4s that's used here, and got it put up. And then we built the saw shack, the sawmill building, kind of testing out potentially a new name. but got it built so that it's under cover. It's amazing how many sawmills you see that are just sitting out, and it's one of those things. It's a fair investment that you make. There's a fair amount of money in those, and while all of it is meant to be outside, it does have electric motors on it. So ours has one for the up down, one for the forward backward motion, and then there's a little motor to move the guide blade in and out, and then also a motor to swing the debarker in and out, and then the debarker itself. So there's a lot of electronics on it that are used, and while all of those are sealed items that can be out, it seems like it would prematurely wear them to have them out in the elements all the time. So that's why we wanted to build over it and everything. And I have a lot of people, and I mentioned this in another video, but ask why we're putting so much into the homestead when the end game is going to be the 100 acres, as far as where things will end up eventually in 5 to 10 years time, let's say. And a lot of it comes back to we want to be able to utilize what we have now. So again, that investment, want to have it under cover, so that's part of the reason there. And also a lot of it is we've never worked with rough cut lumber before, so there's a little bit of a learning curve to it and understanding how it's going to react, how it shrinks, how long it needs to dry. So by doing some of these projects, we can understand it better so that whenever we build in the future, we have a better understanding of what to do, what not to do, the type of wood to use, things like that. So a lot of this has been practice and just trying to understand what the good, bad, and how to traverse that. And like for example, with the sawmill building, the saw shack, we've come to find out pretty quick that we didn't make it big enough. So we poured a 12 by 24 pad for it, and that just fits that sawmill on the 24 foot. Just not thinking so it can cut an 18.5 log, and not thinking about how much room the carriage itself takes up, and that the full length of the bed rail is like 23, 22 feet. Things like that. Whenever we build again, we want to make it a little bit wider, a little bit bigger. It would be nice to buy an additional bed rail for it, which adds, I think, about either 3 or 6 feet on this model, and which would allow us to be able to cut like a 20-some foot board. Again, I don't see the need for it, but it'd be nice to have the ability to do that. The things here at the channel that we're kind of looking at are, so I've talked about the saw shack. So we've cut some cherry, walnut. Most of everything we've made has been out of poplar, and some red oak. So that's kind of what we milled to date. I have done a little bit of maple, and it's sitting and drying currently, and some sassafras. So those are things that we either have that we took down to build the saw shack, or it's things that we had from the 100 acres that we brought over, that from the little bit of clearing we've done there. Again, that's one of those things that eventually would like to potentially make profitable. So be able to sell some boards or sell items from boards we make, and look at something there and doing some of that. But it's one of those, if we get into that, we want to be proficient at it. So that it is profitable, but then also we are producing good material. So a lot of everything we've done to date is just for us, and things we're interested in or going to utilize. Some of the things like the cherry and the walnut that we've done, we could, like, there's pieces of it that we're going to use, but just by the amount we've got now, we're not going to be able to utilize all of it. So once it's dried, we may try to sell some of that. or we may make something out of it. You know, right now we haven't decided one way or the other. The biggest issue is just time. Having all these different things going can make it difficult to make different items right now. That's kind of the story with the sawmill and kind of what we have going there. We did recently bring some pine back from the 100 acres and would like to try milling up some pine and just see. You know, it's obviously the most common thing whenever you go to the big box store and buy lumber. That's obviously what it is typically. And it'd just be interesting to try to utilize some of that. We have a couple different groves of pine at the 100 acres. It's not abundant throughout, but there's a couple areas that do have a lot of pine, so it'd be interesting to try to mill it up and see what happens. So then the other piece is that you've seen quite a bit of is firewood. The firewood, kind of two parts. So if you've seen other videos, you've seen me talk about this, but it's you know, having firewood for the homestead to heat it. I plan on utilizing firewood at the 100 acres when we build there. It is a relatively cheap source of heat, and it produces a better heat whenever you burn it. It's a warmer warm, if that makes sense. I do continue or plan to continue to use that. And then I have like a side business where I do sell firewood. So I sell bag firewood at my sister's house. She's in kind of a little neighborhood, so the bag firewood with the bundles works out really well for that. It's the right clientele. I have it reasonably priced for what you get, and it's all seasoned hardwood of some sort. You know, it's going to be mixed with cherry, some red oak, ash, poplar. Basically, definitely here lately, anything that's gone through the sawmill, all the slabs become that bag firewood. That, and then I have totes that I utilize to store a lot of that in, and have accumulated quite a few totes now of what I would consider regular sized firewood, and I have to probably look at selling some of that coming up. So that'll be something kind of dip my toes into and understand better, is how to market that and make that available. You know, in this area, you know, a rick of firewood is kind of the standard, so it's also known as a face cord, depending on where you're at. Now here, it's anywhere $50 to $70 a rick, and then you know, there may be some additional cost for transporting. So I haven't gotten all that figured out yet to completely understand how I want to do that, but it's something I'll probably look at doing, be a little bit of additional income, but then also be able to turn over the firewood and not let it essentially rot in a tote and not be utilized. You know, that's a lot of what we do, try to utilize as much as we can, and honestly that's why I started doing the bag firewood. Is from the 100 acres, we had a lot of wood going through, and we haven't even started clearing, like I mentioned, for anything major. This is just kind of getting passed through, and we're producing a lot of firewood. So just kind of came up with the idea to start selling it, and built the stand that I've kind of shown in a couple videos, and bought 100 bags to put the firewood in to start with, and then kind of went from there, and have gotten a pretty decent market there, and just have it as a self-serve stand that, you know, it's just based on the honor system. It's hit or miss on that. I'd say 90% of the people are pretty honest and honor that, and some don't. And, you know, there's not a whole lot you can do about that. You're going to have to expect some loss. It is a shame that occurs, but it is what it is, and I think a lot of people do get good out of it, and hopefully the people that decide that they don't need to pay for it actually really need it for something. So anyway, so that's kind of where that's at. Familiar with the channel, you know, we have different pieces of equipment that we utilize here. Kind of just go over, for anyone new, what we have. So I have a video back that I did fairly early on called the Kubota Army. So it kind of goes through all these, but I'll just give kind of a quick overview of what we have. So early on, got on the Kubota train. One of the reasons that my dad bought it from the get-go was they make all of their own components. So you buy a Kubota tractor and it comes with a Kubota engine. They were one of the first tractors of that size and style to offer a hydrostatic transmission. So that was a big selling point. That tractor's a 1987, I believe. Has 24 to 2,500 hours on it. So we haven't had to do a whole lot of major maintenance things to it lately. It's been a really good tractor. It's a B2150, so right around 21 horsepower. Lifting capacity is right around 1,000 pounds, maybe just shy of. For the longest time, here at the homestead, that's all we had. Whenever we bought the 100 acres, knew that with that property we'd want something bigger. So that's when we bought the M62. When we got the 62, so it comes standard, it's the TLB, so the tractor loader backhoe combination. So it is designed with the backhoe on it. And we also got a grader box and a bush hog for it because we knew that those would be items that we would need. Have that. And then in 2019, I believe, I bought the zero-turn mower. So it's to keep the upkeep here at the homestead. Cut the grass here. It's had garden tractors and would take a while to cut the grass. So I really wanted a zero-turn, so I went and got that. And it has also been beneficial for the upkeep at the 100 acres. Even right now, without a yard, have about an acre to two that we keep mowed there. It's been nice to have that to pull over. And then in February of 2020, decided that we were going to get an RTV, so that's the Otter. Kind of hesitant, I guess you could say, on buying one. Just didn't know if we'd really use it, thought it was more of a toy item, if you will, just to run around with. Well, we knew that the RTV was much more tractor-like than gators and mules and a lot of the other ones on the market. The RTV is basically a tractor underbody with with seats and the bed of all the other utility vehicles out there. With that, we knew it was going to be heavy duty and that it would serve us well, but I think the thing we didn't realize was how much we'd use it. Whenever we go over, lugging saws and stuff with us all the time, the tractor bucket, you can put some of that stuff in, but it becomes a hassle. Two of us, Dad and I, always go over, so one of us was on the tractor, the other one was doing something else, and for a lot of the stuff we did initially, it was two-person work. We'd cut, someone would pull stuff out for doing clearing the different paths, but at different times, there's not always something for two people to do. Definitely, like if he's on the tractor moving dirt, there's not necessarily room for two people to be doing that. We got that and really changed kind of the perception of the property. Whenever you have to walk into it, just getting back to kind of the green hole that we have, which is not very far back, is a decent trek back. The idea of having a path all the way around the property was something we always wanted, but with it being almost a 2-mile trek around, walking that just isn't practical. And again, if you're carrying chainsaws and everything with you. So by getting the Otter, it really shrunk the size of the property, you could say, just because now going around it, it is a 10-minute trip around that before would be half a day of walking, and at that time we didn't have the trail there, but was a fair amount of walking distance around. By having the Otter, we've really been able to get around spots and the way that we create paths is different now. You know, everything basically. So before, you need to make sure the tractor gets through, which is about 5 feet. Well, now everything needs to be able to have the auto get through, which is just over 5 feet wide, track-wise. But then with everything hanging out the side, really 6 to 7 feet is better. You know, just kind of the evolution of what we want to use things for has changed. Kind of stepping back, whenever we bought the property, we bought the 62 and bought the dump trailer. So the dump trailer is what we use to haul equipment over to the 100 acres. So the 62 will go on it. So you can close the doors on the back of the dump trailer, and the backhoe just sticks past, and you can put the bucket on top of the gooseneck, and it just fits. But and doesn't ride too bad. It actually sits right over the tires, so it's about right. So we've utilized that for the first until 2019 or 2020. We utilized that, so the B2150 would go on there, and we'd pull it back and forth. Well, when we got the Otter, within the first couple months of having the Otter, realized it would be very helpful to be able to take the little tractor and the Otter over at the same time. So that's why the gooseneck you see now that we utilize most of the time, that big flatbed that has the tilt trailer, buying the Otter really spawned getting that as well, because we wanted something that we could take both pieces of equipment over. Again, just taking the Otter over, if you're just going to check things out, it's great. But to really get work done, you need at least a tractor there. And we've been able to do a lot of work with the Otter as well. And it's been very beneficial, from moving dirt to just being able to get around the property. Because honestly, a lot of the videos that I do, I grab the camera for time lapse, I grab a camera to do kind of action shots, if you will, and utilize that. So it's just we're going out and doing something, so we're going to mill some boards tonight. So I'll grab a couple cameras, set them up, and then do our thing. You know, same with the 100 acres. A lot of times we'll go over with kind of a plan of what we're going to do, and I just try to record as much as possible from doing that. Again, you know, a lot of it's to record what we're doing, so that in the future I can go back and see the evolution of the 100 acres from what it was to what it will become, and you know, want that for myself, and have just decided that I would try to share it with all of you guys as well, and hopefully you'd find it interesting. That part of it I don't see changing, just because that's just what we do, and we're going to continue to do those things. But if there's additional videos that I could talk more in depth on, like whenever someone asked about my my Golf R, kind of did a deeper dive into that car, what I've done to it, and things like that. So if there's things like that that I can cover that would either help people would find interesting, I'm all for that. I think, you know, with YouTube in particular, you know I'm one of the people that I have a project, like when we did the saw shack, we put down block. I've never done block before. So I looked up how to lay block, how to mix the mud up so that, you know, you have the right consistency and everything, and learned a lot from YouTube. So, you know, I hope that as much as it's entertainment, can learn a little bit of something from it as well. About this numerous times, and I think I've cut it each time from the videos. You know, one of the hopes is to get to that magic 1,000 number on YouTube, to be monetized, so that, you know, some of the time and effort that I put into this will pay a little bit. I don't expect to ever quit my job from doing this. It would be kind of a neat thing, because I'd be able to do basically what I'm already doing, but get paid for it. So that's kind of always, you know, I suppose that's kind of the dream, is to, you know, do what you're doing but get paid. but um, you know, that just comes from you guys watching, plus getting, you know, to that the numbers where YouTube does offer that. So you know, a lot of times I know I don't quickly subscribe to things. You know, I'll watch a few videos here and there, and then we'll finally kind of, yeah, I'll check that out and hit the subscribe button. So if you're kind of in that boat, I would appreciate it. I know at the end of all of my videos, I say hit that thumbs up button and subscribe. It's just one of those things that, you know, you just kind of say on YouTube, and you hear, if you watch the end of the video, you hear, and you're like, oh yeah, just saying that. Well, you know, part of the reason is the money part of it for YouTube, but also it does help with the comments and the likes and things that you get on YouTube. I think it does kind of exponentially increase. So, you know, as you get more viewers, your video gets out there more, so then more people watch it, and it kind of snowballs. You know, if you have friends out there, brothers, sisters, whatever, that would be interested in stuff that I do on the channel, have them, you know, check it out, and if they like what they see, then, you know, hit that subscribe button. And you know, I'm trying to grow the channels, give everyone a recap, give everyone a reintroduction. So I know from when I started, with zero fan base to now having, you know, just north of 400 people following, kind of figured kind of do a reintroduction and a recap of kind of what we've done, plus kind of looking at things that we'll be doing in the near future and what to expect. So, um, I don't know. Hopefully, kind of garnered something out of this. Bear with me as I ramble. Stuck around this long, and as I've kind of talked through all this. So, um, if you stuck through this and you're not subscribed, or you've skipped ahead to the end, um, and are just watching this part, but either way, if you've stuck around this long, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe. Hope to catch you next time as we do things here at the homestead and at the Schmitter's 100 Acre Woods.